elevate. Elevate now, gotta elevate. Yeah, elevate, 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 elevate. No time like the present now.
What's happening, everybody? I hope everyone's good. Welcome back, those of you who are coming back to this podcast. Anyone listening in for the first time, this is FMP, the Faith and Manhood Podcast. We're talking about all things manhood, all things faith, and how that interconnects. Now, I have a very special guest here with me today. This man is a mentor of mine. This man is I would say multi-talented, multi-industrial man of... What shall I call you? What would you call yourself?
A child of a king.
Child of a king.
A man of contradictions.
Yes.
A servant leader. Yeah, that's probably enough to be going on with. A thinker.
A thinker.
Yeah.
This is Paul Brightly Jones. Paul, glad to have you here today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
And I just want to just give a little background into, because Paul, you've been an influential person in my life as a leader and in me coming into understanding and living out leadership. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm really, really grateful just to have met you. And I just wanted to somewhat share you with the people who are listening and the people who are watching. Leadership is just such a huge, huge topic. And there's so many different thought processes that I've heard around it. Even now I'm studying a leadership course, and the amount of different types of leadership that have been spoken about already is quite ridiculous, to be honest, because it seems like everybody has a different, very, very, very deep train of thought about it. I've heard about industry leaders. I've heard about there's church leaders, managers, even in sports, you've got team captains, public figures. That's a new thing on social media.
Yeah.
I'm a public figure. Is my career. Not me. I don't call myself that, but some people say that.
Yeah.
Some people call themselves thought leaders.
Yes.
That's totally new. That's the last few years that has become a big deal.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But the common thread seems to be somebody who, for whatever reason, people follow or people draw from or listen to what they have to say.
Absolutely.
And I just want to ask you to start with, what does leadership mean to you?
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being able to be on this podcast with your good
It's
self.
an honor. It's an honor.
And as we were saying before we started recording, mentorship is a two-way street. And one of the greatest things, I think, for anyone who desires to be any kind of leader is to be able to be a follower as well, have a level of excellence in their following. And that's intergenerational. I'm in my 50s now, but some of the greatest insights and help and assistance I've received is from people who are in my children's generation. So that's an important thing to just emphasize, and I'm being mentored today to some extent as well.
I feel pressure. I feel pressure right now.
But in terms of that question, what was the question? What's leadership?
What does leadership mean to you?
What does leadership mean to me? Jesus is obviously my ultimate image of a leader, example of a leader. There's different definitions out there of leadership. People following you going somewhere, having a vision, going off in a direction, and having the ability to influence other people to go in that direction with you is obviously about leadership. I think it was John Maxwell said, essentially, leadership is about influence, our ability to influence. And it's distinct, it's different from management, which is about processes, which is about planning, which is about the logistics of everything. But that human element, that ability to influence somebody or a group of people to want to do the thing that we want them to do, or to get with the vision that we have. What it means to me personally is it is about that, those more generic definitions, but it's about connection. It's about value. And when I say connection, people connecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people collaborating. And people being inspired.
Yeah.
Having a vision. And when I think about vision, sometimes people get kind of caught up with what do we mean by vision? I'm a simple man. So for me, vision is seeing something ahead and wanting to move towards it. Having an idea, having a vision, having a picture of what something, what could be, of possibility, and being able to articulate that such that people would want to move towards it with us is leadership from my perspective. So
you've mentioned connection and collaboration, and that makes me think back to my days at university when we had to do group projects at university. I know that a lot of people listening are hearing that and thinking,
group conflict.
Group projects. I really wish I was not asked to do those. But sometimes I found that there was an expectation of collaboration where there was no connection. And that's where the projects always fell flat. And, we both work in positions of responsibility and leadership. And there's a lot of conversations we have where there's similar threads. What would you say that you have seen that becomes an issue when it comes to connection and leadership?
I think one of the key things where sometimes there's an issue is to not value, to not see the worth of another individual as a leader, to not see the worth of a diverse range of individuals, and to see have a narrow idea of what worth is. And I think some of this is about stewardship in the sense of if we understand that we're not our own, that we're God's, and if we understand that the people are not ours, but they're God's, then that helps to value them and to respect them and to treat them well, because I have to give them back to God in better than how He gave them to me, if you like. I'm meandering a little bit, but
I feel like stewardship is one of those old school words that still has relevance now. That has been missed a lot, though. Because, like you said, it talks about we're looking after what doesn't belong to us. And
we don't belong to us either.
We don't belong to us.
That's key,
So, it's not my team. Even though you say my team, but it's not my team. It's not, yes, my wife is my wife, but she belongs to my creator. My son is my son, but he belongs to my creator. And so it's like consciously living with that mindset of, I'm looking after something that belongs to God. There's a whole different level of care and responsibility that hits with that. Because sometimes, if I'm honest about myself, if I'm looking after something that belongs to me, sometimes I just like, oh yeah, I'll do that later. Oh yeah, I don't have to deal with that right now. Even, we do it looking after our bodies as well. Oh yeah, I'm going to skip gym this week. But when it belongs to the King of Kings, different story. And I think that kind of plays into servanthood as well. You mentioned you're a servant. And I hear you say that a lot. And it kind of sticks out because to me, you are someone who isn't afraid to like get down to earth with people and get your hands dirty when you need to. But how does that play out? Like, is that something that you would say is really shaped the way that you approach everything?
I think so. I mean, and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it starts with our theology. How do we understand God? Because if we understand God, and if we understand that God sent His Son to die for us, to be a sacrifice to us, so that we could have life and have it more abundantly, so that we could live, He took the cross, He took the punishment for us. If we understand our own wretchedness and that actually He's paid the price that we didn't deserve, So gratitude is a massive driving force for a lot of us.
Yeah.
In that, which, I will serve you because I'm grateful to have my life.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to be connected with you. And so that's why I serve you. And sometimes we get it confused with serving man. Even in the context of church, we can get confused with serving man, and that's not going to give you the same, give us the same oomph as when we're serving God, because we know what God's done for us.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if I even answered the question.
No. I mean, it's making sense. It's making sense, and I think I guess there's the whole, like, even just the cultural understanding of leadership and how it plays into being men as well. Yeah. Because we have a different relationship with power and significance to what women have. Yeah. Because of our makeup and the fact that, we do have this thing, the ego. Yeah. That works differently for us. Yeah. And sometimes it can work in your favor. Yeah. But sometimes it becomes a problem. Yeah. And like, how do you, like, for me, I know myself well enough now just to say, okay, I've got this ego. I'm not a loud person. I'm not going to boast about myself. I'm not going to put myself forward necessarily to be at the front of everything. Yeah. But there is a part of me that wants to be right all the time. There is a part of me that wants to be significant all the time. Yeah. There's a part of me that doesn't want anyone to question me or make me out to have been in the wrong. Yes. So how do I like find my way to lead my home well, to lead my team well at work, to, all the capacities that I've got to lead. Yeah. And that doesn't come into the picture and just mash up things, because it mashes things up. Like, you're praying through the morning, praying for your family and stuff. And like, Lord, here's my ego. Please, you take control, because I know what this does. Do you know what I mean?
It's a hard one. Because we've got so many influences, societal influences about what and who we should be as men. And the question I have to ask myself is our conscience being informed by the right material? Sometimes, because, and I'm looking at the different generations and how society's evolved and changed in terms of expectations of what a man is, what the characteristics, what the traits of a man are. And, when I listen to the language of just the ordinary language of discourse across generations, across classes now, people are talking about the mental health, talking about their feelings.
For sure.
I feel that, is such a common part of our vernacular. And that's different from what it used to be.
Okay.
That's very different from what it used to be. So it does interest me. And coming back to servanthood, Jesus is the model. So that's the impetus, and the motivation to serve is that there's a model that we have in Jesus of leadership, which is about serving as well as having a vision and leading people towards it.
But one thing that's quite, and I think some people might find difficult about Jesus being the model is that he is God, made flesh, and like we might come to think, okay, but maybe he was able to do that better because that's who he is. Yeah. But then when you really look at it, that means he had all of the power to not humble himself. Yeah. Like, imagine being able to like speak and an entire creation is formed, but you've chosen to, right, I'm going to reserve that power so that I can be a servant. That's different. Yeah. None of us have had to reach that level of humility because we don't have that level of power. Yeah. We don't own all of that. We don't have all of that in our hands. So actually, he's not only the best example, he's the example that covers off everything.
One of the things I love about Scripture is that Jesus is represented as both lion and lamb. The idea that two things can be happening at the same time. The challenge for us as men, as leaders, is to know when to be the lion and when to be the lamb.